Hi everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those watching for the first time, welcome. My name is Dan Pardo, and this is the 11th episode of Pardo's Turn, my weekly Wednesday web series where I analyze a classic show tune from a music director's point of view, and with the help of a special guest, perhaps shed a little light on what makes the gems of our musical theater canon so great. Today, I am very pleased to have on the channel my friend Bret Shuford, just days before he and his talented husband, Stephen Hanna, moved to Charleston, South Carolina. In addition to performing and life coaching, Bret is also an avid content creator on both YouTube and Instagram with his series Broadway Husbands. On stage, he has been seen in a number of Broadway shows including Paramore, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Amazing Grace with Me. He was also in both The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, which may be part of the reason why Bret is one of the biggest Disney fans I know, and I know a lot of them. So today, it seemed right to sing a song from the Disney catalog, and what better than Be Our Guest, perhaps the only production number that could have lit a candle, to the Academy Award-winning Under the Sea, also written by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, just the year before. Be Our Guest effectively combines the intimacy of French cabaret with the showmanship of a Busby Berkeley spectacular, striking a perfect balance for the star of the song, a Liberace-type figure who just happens to be a singing candelabra. Like the title character's iconic descent down the staircase of the castle, the harmonic structure of the song is built on elegant, stepwise motion. The voicing of the major tonic walks its way up from do down to ti, then to la, then to sol. Then he charms her for a minute to set up a dancing spoon. Next, over the minor 2, we have re, down to D, then to do, then to T. See, even before the climax of the number where all the plates are doing figure eights and the champagne bottles are creating a battery of fireworks, there is motion in the music. I also love the repeated accents on unfold your menu, take a glance and then you'll... It's another fine example of Menken and Ashman's perfect collaboration, and also just reminiscent of the can-can, which makes sense. After all, this is France. The arrangement is classic and classy, modulating up a half step for the second verse as the chorus enters. The high-pitched and somewhat shrill background vocals for the women during the spoon-synchronized swimming event are a great throwback to the MGM musicals of the 30s and 40s. And the frothy beer stein's response, now with male vocals, sound like a fun drinking song from a German pub. It's joyous and kitschy in the best possible way. The melancholy bridge, immortalized by Cogsworth getting snowed on by salt shakers, still uses a stepwise harmonic progression, but now we're deep in the world of modern French chanson with a sorrowful, heart-on-the-sleeve performance that would make Edith Piaf and Jacques Brel proud, even if it's done through a slight wink and a smile. Mrs. Potts then bursts in with authority for her next verse, and the brief pipe organ feature in the orchestration is a playful nod to her lyric, "They'll be warm, piping hot." The exuberant final chapter carries on, as you'd imagine, with at least 3 more modulations, a grand pullback into a kick line, and a soprano ostinato that inevitably lands on a high C. Hey Bret.
Hi Dan.
Thanks so much for coming on.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you were able to come before the big move.
I know.
So Charleston, what's the plan?
Well, the plan is to go on an adventure, just try something different. I've been here 20 years. Steven's been here 26 years.
Yeah.
And he got a job teaching ballet with his friend, and I got asked to direct Urinetown at the college. I'm directing Fiddler at another school. So I've wanted to I've been doing a lot of producing like video content, but I've always wanted to do more directing in theater, and I feel like it's kind of a safe space to explore that and see. And we ended up getting like an apartment and a car that like kind of were gifted to us, so we thought it was like
the stars are aligning.
Right, a no risk attempt.
And it's certainly by not because of a dearth of work. Both you and Stephen are like Broadway every season, it seems.
Well, it's been, we've been very lucky, but and the nice thing is it's only an hour away and by flight, and so. But I want to do more television and film work, and we're also trying to start a family, and having some steady money will help us, of course, do that.
So I was so excited about the prospect of doing some Disney stuff with you. We kind of touched on a little bit of Menken and Ashman in week 3 with Lauren. She did Somewhere That's Green. But there is something special about the Disney canon, and there's no bigger Disney fan I know than you.
Your wife might be.
There's some big contenders, Ray Lee and some other guys. But when we were in Chicago, you pitched this crazy idea to go see Walt Disney's house with me, which we did. And it's like, who else, would go and know all this, deep Disney history and go on these excursions and, do all these crazy sing-alongs on the way. So how did you kind of get your love affair with Disney going?
Well, I think, as a kid, I watched Disney Channel incessantly, so I think a lot of it got ingrained through cable TV. But I was doing so Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, that was my second Broadway show.
Yeah.
Before that, I had done Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, so I worked with the Sherman Brothers. And then I did Beauty and the Beast, which was a show I'd seen on Broadway when I was in high school, and then I sort of revisiting that, and then from that I got Little Mermaid, and I got to work with Alan Menken, and I got to sort of be in this, Disney history, and I met Roy Disney, and when he came to see the show, and I met all, Jodie Benson, and all these people who I'm like, wow, I've been, watching and listening to their voices since I was a kid. And it was during Little Mermaid that Stephen bought me Walt Disney's biography. It's the Neil Gabler book. It's called Triumph of the American Imagination. If you haven't read it, read it. Great book, and I read it cover to cover in a month. Huge, thick book, and I was like, and there was, every time they would talk about a movie or a short or a silly symphony or something like that, I would look it up online, and I would find it. If it wasn't on YouTube, I would buy it, because I had Broadway money at the time, and I would buy the DVD, and I ended up, by the time I finished that book, I had a whole collection of Disney, movies and DVDs, and
so it was really snowballing later in
the book kind of kicked it in. And then I was like, they talk about the building of Disneyland, and so then I was like, well, I gotta go to Disneyland now after learning about the construction of it. So I just became a huge history nerd about it. And then,
So let's talk about the our guest in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So I grew up loving Law and Order. And I watched every Friday, I think it was, when we got home from Temple, and then we would turn on NBC or whatever channel it was and watch Law and Order, and there's Lenny Briscoe, and a couple years later my dad's like, you know who that is, right? I'm like, no. It's like, I'm like, what? And it just totally opened the door that, this, gruff lieutenant that I grew up on was also Lumiere and Billy Flynn,
El Gallo,
and Chuck Baxter from Promises,
and the dad in Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, it's like, and then obviously in light of the recent death of Gary Beach, this is a nice tribute there.
Yeah.
So you understudied Lumiere, and you went on
a lot. It was one of those things where. I remember watching the Tony Awards and seeing Gary Beach as a kid, and what I did at the time is I would put them on VHS and then watch them over and over again until the tape wore out. And I remember sort of being inspired by Gary's performance, and of course seeing him, the producers and all that.
Yeah.
But then when I got the audition for Beauty and the Beast, I had a trip planned to France with some friends who were offering up for us to come stay at their house. They were staying in this chateau in France. And literally the day of my appointment, which was here actually, it's so funny, the flight was. And so I had to pack my suitcase for France and go to the audition, and I was leaving from the audition to the airport. And I'm sitting in the hallway, and the choreographer comes out, and we danced, and then he was, they were keeping us to sing, and the choreographer comes out, and he's like, what's the suitcase for? I was like, oh, I'm flying to France this afternoon. And he was like, well, what happens if you get it? Because it was an immediate replacement. I was like, I'm just going to ask you guys to wait a week for me to start. And he was like, okay. And he goes to the bathroom, comes out, and I go in. And he had told them, and they were like, so you're going to France? I was like, oui, oui. I'd been practicing my French, And so then I did the scene. My French accent was on point because I'd been practicing.
Oh, that's too funny.
And then I go to the airport, and I'm in line to board the plane, and they're like, my agent called and said, you booked
it?
Yeah. So I literally went to France.
But so you did go?
Yeah.
Okay.
And came back
And
the
they
day
waited.
after I got back from France. I started rehearsals.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. But then I got to join that show, and it was really cool because when I joined, well, they had a soap star playing Lumiere at the time, and he was taping every Wednesday, so the Lumiere would go on
Oh, wow.
every matinee. So I joined, and immediately it was going on like every week. So that was really cool and such a dream come true because I remember seeing it when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And
What was your regular track when you weren't Lumiere?
I was Salt.
Really? So
Yeah.
I didn't see the original Broadway production. Did they do the Salt thing with Cogsworth during the bridge of the song, or no?
No, everyone was just like running around the stage in circles and dancing.
That's great.
Me and the Salt and Pepper, we came out and had a little dance feature.
Mm-hmm. Was that an actor or an actress, or was there
Two guys.
Two guys?
We both. Yeah, I had a white mustache and he had a black one.
Oh, very nice.
Sometimes the white mustace would fall off because I was sweating so much.
Did you make a bit out of it?
No, but they would get mad if it fell off. They would yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to stick it on. I'm like, I'm sweating. It's hot. Like, what do you want me to do?
What was it like working for Disney Theatricals as opposed to other producers? Or would they kill you if you said something?
It's. I mean, it's. I feel like Disney because I don't necessarily feel like we had the pressure that you feel on a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is always pressure because there's a lot of money being spent on a Broadway show, but with Disney, because they can relax a little bit and they can invest to make it really good, and I feel like Tom Schumacher is one of the most loyal, generous people I've ever worked for. I mean, if you work for him, you could reach out to him and he'll be there for you, and it's I don't know that I've met a lot of producers who are really that available and accessible
That's great.
to the performers. Yeah.
Want to sing a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Monsieur, mademoiselle, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now we invite you to relax. Let us pull up a chair as the dining room proudly presents your dinner. Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie a napkin round your neck, Shelley, and we'll provide the rest. Soup du jour, heart hors d'oeuvre, why? We only live to serve. Try the great stuff, it's delicious. Don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all, miss, this is France, and dinner here is never second best. Go on and fold your menu, take a glance, and then you'll be our guest. Be our guest, be our guest. Beef ragout, cheese soufflé, pie and pudding en flambé. We'll prepare it so with flair, a culinary cabaret. You're alone and you're scared, but the banquet's all prepared. No one's gloomy or complaining, while the flatware's entertaining. We tell jokes, I do drinks with my fellow candlesticks, and it's all in perfect taste that you can bet. Tonight you'll prop your feet up, but for now let's eat up. Be our guest if you're stressed. It's fine dining we suggest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest. Life is so unnerving for a servant who's not serving. He's not whole without a soul to wait upon. Ah, those good old days when we were useful. Suddenly those good old days are gone. 10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting, needing exercise, a chance to use our skills. Most days we just lay around the castle, very flat and lazy. You are queen and oopsie daisy. Be our guest, be our guest. Our command is your request. It's been years since we've had anybody here, and we're obsessed with your meal, with your ease. Yes, indeed, we aim to please while the candlelight's still glowing. Let us help you, we'll keep going. Course by course, one by one.
so much again. All the best in Charleston. Let us know when you're back in town.
Yeah, come visit.
And so come visit, and in person and online. So your different social media platforms are.
Oh yeah, just look me up, Bret Shuford. You can go to bretshuford.com. But all my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's all Bret Shuford.
Great.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe, share both of our stuff, and we'll see you next week on Pardo's Turn.
Course by course, one by